Okay, for this part of the assignment, I want you to answer questions 2 through 4 on your own in your composition notebook. So pause the video and answer those questions, and then when you're finished, come back and we'll check the answers. Alright, so I know you paused the video and you've answered the questions. So I want you to check your answers as we go through it before you put your final answers on the Google form. I'm also going to have you upload a picture of the work that you've already done, so be sure to save it and you'll upload a picture of your work at the end of this Google form. Alright, so the question number 2, Lucy and Pepper have one treat to share. How much will they each get? So they've been sitting here patiently waiting for us to solve this problem so they can get their treat. So I've got one treat to share with 2 dogs. So the way that we would write our equation, we've got our one treat divided by the 2 dogs, just a minute, Pepper, we gotta finish. So 1 divided by 2 gives us 1/2. That is correct. So they get half of a treat. So I think Pepper's gonna be excited about that. And normally we would cut it equally, but since Pepper was barking, he's gonna get the smaller one this time. And question number 3. Now Lucy and Pepper have one treat to share with their dog friend. So how much will the 3 dogs get? So instead of just sharing between the 2, we have to share one treat with the 3 dogs. So now I've got my one treat divided by the 3 dogs. And you are correct if you said they each get 1/3 of a treat. So I think they're happy with just their half a treat, but we'll go ahead and we'll divide this into thirds. You know, if you drew a picture, you could draw just a rectangle and divide it into 3 parts. So now I've got, you know, they each get 1/3. And I'll go ahead and I'll draw that picture. And Pepper's waiting patiently for him to get his other part. Kind of patiently. So I'm dividing that into thirds. So they would each get 1/3 of the treat. So I'm going to go ahead and give Lucy and Pepper theirs. And I'll save this for their dog friend. Alright, for problem 4, we've got 3 basketball players and they have 2 quarts of Gatorade to share. Aubrey said each athlete gets 3/2 Gatorade. Explain her mistake. How much will they really get? So in this question, we've got 3 basketball players, but only 2 quarts of Gatorade. So we've got our 2 quarts of Gatorade and then our 3 basketball players. So when we write our equation, we want to share the 2 quarts of Gatorade divided by the 3 players. So that gives each player 2/3 of a quart. You know, we know that since we only have 2 quarts, there's no way they could get a full quart. So if we look at the way that Aubrey said they're getting 3/2, we've got 3 divided by 2, and that would give us 3/2. But we know that this answer doesn't make sense whenever we only have 2 quarts. Because we know 3/2 would be the same thing as 1/2. Since our numerator is larger than the denominator, we know that they would get more than 1 if we wrote the equation like this. So if you're confused, you know, think about if your equation makes sense. And in this case, each player getting 3/2 or 1/2 whenever we only have 2 quarts of Gatorade doesn't make sense. So we know that we've got to have 2 quarts of Gatorade divided by the 3 players. So they're going to get less than a quart of Gatorade. So that's how you can explain that Aubrey was incorrect and explain her mistake and help her to solve the problem correctly by doing 2 divided by 3. Alright, so now that you've got your answers, I want you to take a picture of your work in your composition notebook and you're going to upload the picture to the Google form. There's also a place for you to write your answers on the Google form. So if you missed any of them, you know, make corrections before you put your final answers on the Google form.